So how surprised were you when they went tight end that they went with Loveland or Warren? Was this expected?
It was not, and I was dumbfounded, not completely dumbfounded, because there was some Colston Loveland rumors, but Tyler Warren was the higher rated tight end. Although a lot of people said pick your flavor, and that's fine, and the Bears clearly did that. But I would have, if they were picking a tight end, I would have bet on Warren. I would, and I actually did predict that day that they would take Tyler Warren in our draft prognostications. But it was kind of felt like a flyer at the time, Greg. I didn't really actually believe myself though. I'm like, because but I thought it was too boring to say that they would pick an offensive lineman. But I think if Kelvin Banks, who went right in front of him, was there, that probably would have been the pick and not Loveland. So I think they intended on taking Banks, but since Banks wasn't there and Ben Johnson had fallen in love with Loveland, they chose that path as they had him graded over Warren. But I was pretty surprised by it overall.
Did they have that question asked specifically regarding the difference of why they preferred Loveland over Warren?
Yeah, they did, and their answer was like, look, we think that Tyler's going to be a great player too, but we just thought that Loveland fits better for what they do.
Okay.
So I think maybe, Ben Johnson said he saw a lot of Sam Laporta in him. So Laporta has been pretty successful up in Detroit. He didn't have a huge year last year, but pretty damn ass successful. So I think that's kind of the vision somewhat for what Colston can be with the Bears.
That's pretty much what I said. When all I said was, look, hey, I'm just going to guess that it's a better fit for their offense. Because, look, I'm not the coach. They are. They know what is a better fit for them. We all feel Warren's a better player, even though, like you said, it was pretty close. But, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Burden. This had to be – this one really had to excite Bears fans to be able to get Burden in round 2.
Yeah, 38 overall, and this was a Bears moment where they thought they got a steal. What was interesting to me most about the Burden pick, Greg, was there were some question marks about how he was handling himself and his mom being involved in his business and just different stuff, which is why he dropped. Okay. And the Bears have been very character priority in their draft picks. And I'm not, I don't want to, make it out like Luther's got bad character, but he wasn't like, the perfect guy when it came to that. And so it felt like almost like the Bears were making a pivot to, we are taking the most talented guy on the board versus, you've got to check off that box too. I mean, the Bears could have drafted Jalen Carter to be their nose tackle, which they needed the year before, and they passed on that for Darnell Wright and a 4th-round pick. And a lot of people thought that was, it was characteristics for Jalen Carter. Well, if you go back and do that, you're taking Jalen Carter. The guy's been wrecking football games basically since he got in the league.
Yeah.
But so this just felt like a little bit of a pivot with Luther.
No. I mean, look, if you have a lot of character guys in your locker room, there's nothing wrong with adding 1 or 2 that may not fit that, because you have so many good character guys that should be able to elevate that player.
Yeah, if you're the coaching staff that can handle that. Yeah. But the Bears added one player like that before in Chase Claypool, and he was an absolute nightmare in that locker room.
Yeah.
So that was just one guy in a locker room of good dudes, and it was not easy to manage him. I mean, even if we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how first of all, Luther's got to get healthy, and then there's a lot of guys who want the football in the Bears. DJ Moore wants the ball. Roma Dunze is going into his 2nd year. Colston Loveland's a rookie tight end. Cole Kmet's been here. How many touches is Luther going to get, and will he I don't know, find his way and quietly onto whatever his role is on the team? It'll be interesting to watch.
Well, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stick with skill position players. We see a big R back there. You know where I'm going here. So I've already told people, and I feel pretty confident about this. I know maybe a little stretch as a rookie, But I think Monangai 2026 will be the starting running back of the Bears. I love the kid. I think he was. This has happened to him at every level. It happened to him going into college. You know, he didn't have this, that, or the other thing, and all he did was lead the Big Ten in rushing and be the most productive running back the last 2 years. And that kid is a really good player. And I think that's a running back. That's a backfield that I think has some potential openings if Monangai steps up.
Well, he does a lot of things that the Bears need. One, he's good at getting some tough yards, which is not necessarily the forte of DeAndre Swift. He is good in pass protection as well.
Oh, he's awesome in pass protection.
Yeah. So that's a big feather in his cap for, that would allow him to get on the field, because Caleb does need that extra protection, or any quarterback does. So, 68 sacks last year. Let's get some more help out there. You got to love the attitude. The only thing that sort of scares me about, not sort of, but that's the reason why he was a 7th-round draft pick, is he doesn't have that breakaway speed, and I think he had 3 carries that were of more than 40 yards in his college career. Like, he's not a home run threat.
No, he's not.
So it's kind of a niche back here, but someone who's not going to hurt you. And look, I'm rooting for him just like you are, Greg. It sounds like there's a lot of things that are impressive about him. His background is interesting. His brother played in the NFL. His parents, immigrating to the U.S. and raising 2 amazing kids and all the things. So I think you could absolutely be proven right that Kyle Monangai, if he can step in there and be productive, he's very well could be the starter next year for the Bears at running back.
Yeah, and also it's one of those deals where, hey, he's a 7th-round draft pick, so why not? Okay, the 2 linemen, you've already talked about Trapio from Boston College. Luke Newman. This is another one of those little bit of a surprise pick. I mean, the 6th round, anybody can pick anybody once you get to the 6th round. But did they specifically say what they liked about Newman? Because I think we pretty much have an idea of why they liked Ozzie, and we kind of went over that already. But what about Newman?
Well, with Newman, it's his versatility. They feel he can play both guard spots and center. So, you look at his tape at Michigan State, and you see a lot of good things, but mainly the versatility is what got him selected. And look, the Bears have been looking for a center for a long time now. They've made a big time investment in Drew Dahlman, so it feels a whole lot more comfortable. But just being able to have somebody on the interior that can do that in a pinch if necessary, I think that's at least one of the big reasons why they wanted to, were willing at least to spend one of their draft picks on Luke Newman. And played at Michigan State, played against tough competition, held his own. So there's plenty to like there.
Would you still have? We have Kramer as the backup, and I know he's a veteran compared to Newman. Both guys 6th-round draft picks. Would you have Kramer as do they have him as the number 2 behind Dahlman right now?
To be honest, I'm not sure.
Okay. That's not out of whack then to have Kramer potentially.
No, it's not. It's not. I think all that stuff will be decided and won't be decided until training camp. Ben, one thing that's impressed me about Ben right now is that he's willing to give direct answers, which is unlike some Bears coaches in the past. And you can't tell a whole lot with offensive linemen until they put the pads on. And he's also said they don't have any depth chart, which of course they do. Caleb Williams is going to be your number 1 quarterback, and DeAndre Swift is going to be your number 1 running back. But as far as things like Luke Newman and Doug Kramer, I don't think they have a depth chart there. I think they are figuring that out.
Okay, let's go to the defensive side. And we talked about the kid from Maryland, the linebacker, Shamar Turner. So they pick him up in the 2nd round. Seems to be an energy type player. I'm not sure what his role is going to be. He can fit in a few different spots. Did they specifically say what they liked about him?
Well, I think they like his nastiness, which Shamar Turner got kicked out of a game for grabbing somebody's junk, and he's willing to kind of push the envelope here, which is another thing. Like the Bears, they would not have picked. I don't think they would have picked a Shamar Turner last couple of years, but they're picking him now, and I think that's definitely a Ben Johnson influence. I mean, he's got some physical ailments that make you wonder if he's going to be able to stay healthy, but I think this is a high ceiling guy in their mind. Somebody who they think, if you look at that rotation in the middle, you've got Turner, you've got Trevon Dexter Sr. going in his third year, who's looks absolutely enormous right now. So, and then you're also dealing with Grady Jarrett as a veteran in the middle there, and Andrew Billings had a great year last year until he got hurt. So that's 4 interchangeable parts in the interior. Nothing super sexy per se, but maybe they can be pretty effective.
And Frazier, the Texas San Antonio corner, there's some nice things to like about him. His 4.3 speed. He seems to also be somebody that has really good ball skills. He is going to turn 25 as a rookie, and I wonder whether or not that's a reason he lasted where he did. But it still wasn't like it was a really, it wasn't like he was a 6th or 7th round guy. So what do you think about Frazier? Frazier seems like a guy when you're going to be 25 years old and you have a lot of experience in college, you're probably going to have a leg up on some of the other rookies, and you might be able to play a lot sooner.
Yeah, he's interesting in the ball skills, but I mean, this is a guy who's been a backup most of his career in college. The Bears like his size, and this is a developmental play. I think a practice squad candidate. He's super thin, Greg, like rail thin. So, like, you're going to come up and hit somebody? I can't even imagine. I feel like you're going to break in half. And he also got dinged up at minicamp and hasn't been on the field.
Big surprise.
Right. But so I do think they like his size. They like his ball skills, and taking a swing at somebody who's, if he could hit, has perhaps the ability to, I don't know. I don't want to go too tall here, but be an impact player if with his size and skill set that, if he actually gets playing time and learns the game, that he could, be somebody at that pick in the 5th round would be an absolute steal.
Where do you think that, taking a look with the draft and a lot of free agency over, is there a position on the team that you still feel has some depth issues?
Well, you kind of wonder, would they add a veteran back in behind DeAndre Swift? Or are they going to leave that to Carman and Roschon Johnson? Nick Chubb apparently is going to be off the board, but that was a name that Bears fans were wondering if they were going to do, but they didn't. So I guess they believe in Roschon and they believe in Monangai, perhaps for the reasons that we were just talking about. So that was one spot. Could they add a veteran safety as insurance for Jaquan Brisker, who dealt with a major concussion and missed the great portion of last year, got hurt early and didn't play again. Maybe they still have some money outstanding, but I think that roster overall is pretty well set.
Okay. Are there any, you mentioned a few of the rookie injuries. Are there any veteran injuries that we need to keep an eye on? Some guys who may not be available either early in camp or until later in camp, or maybe even into the season?
Yeah, I mean, no, and Jaquan Brisker's cleared, but it'll be very interesting to just to see how much they play him in the preseason, and if he does come up and make some big hit, how he comes out of it. That'll be interesting. And the other thing to look at is, like, Colston Loveland hasn't been on the field either. So how will he be able to be full functional in training camp, and then ultimately, of course, ready to play week 1? So those are a couple things to pay attention to.
Okay. Were there have you heard anything at all from the UDFAs? The only player that sticks out to me that I liked, that I think would be a nice sleeper UDFA, is Major Burns. But I don't know. Have you heard anything at all about any of these guys? Did they give any of these guys big money that shows that they're excited about one over the other?
I haven't heard anything about big money. I do think that the rookie out of TCU, 5'11" wide receiver, J.P. Richardson, has a chance at bare minimum to be a training camp darling. He's looked good running routes, made some nice catches in rookie mini camp and then throughout OTAs. So I think he's in the mix, at least for somebody that could pop up and be talked about.